Rock and Manooch with Jimmy B on Fox Sports 910.
All right, everybody, we're hanging out here, Camelback location, Twin Peaks. Howard Balzer is on the Wright Toyota guest line as we speak. Howard, welcome as always. So before we do the show starting at 1 o'clock, Manooch always calls me. And he just, hey, just checking in, see how you're doing, making sure you're still alive. And I always say hello. He always says hello. This time, he was rolling his mouth about Kyler Murray, never said hello to me at all. I'm going to play a quick clip of what Kyler Murray had to say when he was asked why he did not get the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. more often against the Buffalo Bills. Here it is.
Honestly, man, I wouldn't say they were just taking them away. I think, I'm just, as a quarterback, obviously you're going through your read. Sometimes the ball goes to them, but that's not, it's not my job. Obviously, I have a sense and a feel for guys when they don't get the ball and when they're, when they are getting the ball. But, I leave that up to Drew. Drew always, he tells me don't worry about that type of stuff.
So who the hell's job is it, Howard Balzer? Welcome into Rock and Manooch, Jimmy B. I'm just asking, should I go give a job description to one Kyler Murray? What should I do here?
Well, I mean, the job description is the offensive coordinator makes the play call, and within that play call, whatever it might be, there's certain reads and progressions to that call. And I think that while everyone has been going nuts about Marvin Harrison getting one catch and 3 targets and all that, but no, and I understand he's the first round draft pick and everyone's gaga over this guy. But the reality is that Michael Wilson only had 2 targets.
Sure.
Trey McBride had 9, but his 5 catches went for a total of 30 yards. Greg Dortch averaged a little under 8 yards per reception. And they won't come out and admit it, but I was the only one on Monday or Tuesday that asked the coaches and Kyler Murray about whether they thought that the wind had an effect on this game. And they're not going to come out and say, yeah, we weren't going to make this call or that. But Kyler Murray alluded to the fact, and I haven't seen anybody play this quote or this cut, but he alluded to the fact that it affects the play calling when you have those elements that you're dealing with. And I hear people saying, well, they should have thrown jump balls to Marvin Harrison. Let him go up and get it. Well, when you're going with the wind or going against the wind, it's hard to gauge sometimes. You're just going to throw it up and hope to have a jump ball. It's hard to gauge where that ball is going to end up. And the one thing you don't want is an interception. Now, I know the no excuse crowd is going to say I'm making excuses. But the point is that the entire passing game, there were a lot of check down, and there was a lot of things not going down the field much to anybody, much less Marvin Harrison. And I think that was just a product of this particular game. And I'll give you one example. And I just wrote a story on this. It's up at carswire.usatoday.com. It's like, and I realized it wasn't huge in the game, right? Because there's always other talking points that everyone wants to concentrate on. But no one asked afterward about the 28-yard punt that Blake Gillikin had at the end of the game with the wind at his back, which if the Bills had gone down and scored a touchdown, would have basically ended the game and made it a two-score game. Cardinals held them and limited them to a field goal, and that put them in position to at least have a chance at the end to win. So I asked the special teams coach, Jeff Rogers, on Tuesday, the wind was at the back, but did the wind have any effect on that? And he says, oh, yeah, it did. The wind gusted at the very moment that Blake Gillikin did his drop after he caught the snap, and it moved the ball from where he normally would kick it, and it went off the side of his foot. That's the impact that the wind can have on games. And so I definitely believe that it affected the overall play calling. And you're on the road, and you have all these things going on, and a lot of this stuff. And so we just can't overreact to one game, and that's what everybody does. And I know the NFL is an overreaction sport. Everybody overreacts, after one game. And I understand, hey, you got to get the ball to Marvin Harrison more. You got to get the ball more to all your receivers. And while the 15 catches that their wide receivers had in this game, 15 catches, 98 total yards. That's an average of 6.5 per reception. So that speaks more to game plan, I think, and the way things went than just not throwing the ball to one particular guy.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And I got my doctorate on throwing, just so you guys know. I played Buffalo for 3 years. I know what that's all about. I really thought Drew Petzing did a horrible job of at least calling some plays to get the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. And I don't care. You can use whatever excuse you want, Jonathan Gannon, about, he's bracketed, he's this and that. Quite frankly, Howard, I thought he covered for Drew Petzing and then in private said, you got to design or get some plays to get the quote-unquote generational wide receiver the ball. I mean, this designed some plays. Now, all that being said, what you had to say, we started off with Kyler Murray about it's not my job. Fans don't want to hear that. What fans want to say, we have got to do a better job, me number one, getting the ball, designing plays, talking to my offensive coordinator to make sure we get our top pick, who's very talented, get him the football under any conditions. I think that's what people want to hear.
Well, but he said that in another cut, but everyone picks out that cut and jumps all over. He said in another cut, but yeah, we've got to get the ball to him more and find a way to do that. But like I said, you have to find a way to get the ball to everybody. Whether it's the first round pick or whether it's everybody else. And that's just the reality. You're not going to throw the ball to one guy all the time. I think we all realize that. And that's, those are the things that happen, sometimes. I mean, heck, I looked over, Trey McBride. I mean, there's a guy, I was looking at this last year. He didn't have one game after Kyler Murray came back where he had only 30 yards. And interestingly, at Chicago in a road game late in the season, he had 6 catches for 31 yards. That was his worst game. And so, sometimes those things, are going to happen. And I would argue the way Trey McBride played, you got to, if Marvin Harrison isn't getting open or there's things going on with him, well, get the ball to Trey McBride. We've seen what a playmaker he can do. And they weren't able to do that either. And they, like I said, they weren't able to get it to anybody in terms of the entire passing game. So that was an issue in that game. And I'm sure it's a variety of reasons. Drew Petzing said it on Tuesday. We've got to do some things. We got to find ways to get him the ball. And I'm sure that'll be what happens. But, I think that, like I said, that's just the reality sometimes of one game. And, if it had been different in this game, and then all of a sudden another game comes along and something happens and he only has 2 targets, no one's saying a word. But when it's opening day and the expectations are through the roof and they're expecting this guy to go 8 for 120, then all of a sudden that doesn't happen. But no one else even came close to that. And so I think that's a big factor in everything.
No underneath center snaps by Kyler Murray in the second half versus I would have 8 to 10 in the first half. Did you ask him a chance why they went? I know why they did. I mean, they went shotgun the whole time. I don't think this underneath center experiment's going to work. He's just too short. Did anybody ask about that in the second half?
I did. Yeah, I did. I was the only one again who asked that, and because you're right, it was 8 snaps out of 35 in the first half and none of 24 in the second half. But of course, what happened in the second half was the Bills go down and score to tie the game immediately. And then the Cardinals go 3 and out with a sack on third down. And so now and then the Bills go down and score again. And now you're behind. And all of a sudden your whole approach, is changing. And then they had a sack fumble on second down. So they had 2 series there with the score still close, obviously, and one of them tied, and they ran 5 plays. So who knows if it would have been different. When I asked it, the answer, they're never going to say, well, I should have done it more. I should have done this, or I should have done that. But they said that, a lot of times that's just the way the game goes. And you're calling the plays that, you think will fit and are better for where you are, at that point. And certainly when you're down 2 scores, which they were at, in 1 or 2 situations with the ball, then you're going to be throwing it more. And most of the time you're probably going to throw, from the shotgun. So I think we'll see this, we'll see under center a bit more. And Kyler Murray says he likes it, whether he's short or not. I mean, bottom line is it makes the defense wonder what you might be doing on that play. But another thing in this game, guys, too, is that they didn't run the ball well. Right. I've heard people say how well they ran the ball. I'm saying, what game were they? What game did you watch?
Really?
Exactly.
I mean, James Conner had a 20-yard run, and his other 15 carries went for a total of 30 yards, 2.0 per run. And so they really couldn't get the running game going consistently either. And so that, affects a lot of the other things you do. So, that's the story of football. And even with all this, they were in the game till the very end with a chance to win. But this is a team that I believe it is getting better. But as we've talked about many times, the close games that there are in the NFL. Here's the number for week 1, guys. 10 games decided by one score or less. 11 that were one-score games at some point in the fourth quarter. And this was another one-score loss for the Cardinals, who were 2-5 in those one-score games last year. So for this team to really be considered a team that can challenge for whatever it might be in competition, to be 500, a little above that, whatever it is, you've got to find a way to win these close games because the good teams do that.
Howard Simon, you can find him at USA Today Cards Wire and follow him on X or Twitter at HBalzer721. Thank you as always, pal. Have a good day.
You too, guys. Take care.
There you go. Howard Balzer, everybody. All right, quick timeout. When we come back, we'll get you up to speed on what's on television tonight. Our State 40